Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Tuesday. How you doing? 866-969-1969 is the phone number. And, what the hell's going on? First of all, let's get the business out of the way. Come see me Friday night, this Friday night, Cary Memorial Hall, Lexington, Massachusetts. And then the following night, November 18th, the Cabot Theater in Beverly, Mass. December 8th and 9th, I'll be at the Helium Comedy Club in Buffalo. And New Year's Eve, Hot Comedy Club in Yonkers. Hit me up on Twitter, at Nick DiPaolo, and nickdip.com for all my touring dates and whatnot. What the hell's going on? Lots of stuff. Fiore, my producer, just sent me this article this afternoon. It just fucking enraged me. Some guy named Drew McGarry. It's entitled "Why All," and I'll stress the word, all the comedy men are so awful. Just from the title of the article, I know it's written by some millennial who has swallowed all the PC horse shit, all the emasculating garbage that he's been fed up at where'd he go to school? Colby, one of those schools up in Maine and Michigan, I just started reading why all the comedy men are so awful. So right away, you know what that tells me? Just the headline. And he's a guy, by the way. He's either a failed comic or a guy that never had the balls to do comedy, because he pretends that ostensibly the article is about Louis and some other comics, the Woody Allens of the world, and how horrible now. It's not funny anymore is the first line of the article. And he praises Richard Pryor at the beginning because Pryor was angry back in 72 and tells a couple anecdotes about Richard Pryor, treating his girlfriend horribly on the road and shit. But so he sucks Pryor's dick. But then he kind of justifies, but maybe it's because he was raised in a whorehouse and the madam that used to run it used to beat him when he wasn't there, or he was molested by a kid in an alley, and they can always find some justification if it's a woman or a minority or a gay person. But Louis the fucking devil, and he just goes into all this shit about. It's really an attack on comedians. It was just so fucking enraging that a guy can have this opinion. Well, it's usually, as a lot of them, and again, I don't know the guy's age exactly, but a lot younger than me. But it's usually, and I hear female comics complaining about these guys, they pretend to be feminists today, which right there's not a guy my age, or even you, Fiore, I don't think a guy your age would call himself a feminist.
Right.
Or if they do, they're doing it to get pussy. And most female comics make that charge, and they're right. But this guy's really just fed up with all the men of comedy today and fucking how horrible. And then he takes Louis to task on some episodes of Louis' show. And he brings up one of the episodes, one of the scenes that I love the most is when Louis dresses down some female heckler at the Comedy Cellar for talking too loud, and he transcribes that scene and how horrible Louis treated. It's one of my favorite scenes in the 6 or 7 seasons Louis did. But he brings up the comedy community as a whole, and he says, now let's talk about that community for a minute, because it's a very insular and very protective. And very protective. If you go by the list of greatest comedians of all time, it's a community that has harbored a great number, perhaps a disproportionate number of misogynists, abusers, and shitbags. Can you smell his bitterness coming through because he didn't have the fucking balls to get on the stage?
You're a wormy cocksucker, you know that?
That's exactly what he is. He's a fucking half a girl is what he is.
He's a fag.
Fucking, dozens of women, look, just the way he fucking words this shit. Dozens of women say Bill Cosby is a rapist. Even that he softens because Cosby's black. Dozens of women say, no, Multiple dozens, and it's not just because they say this, you know, they all have the same story. But Woody Allen's daughter said he raped her, a claim he has denied. Actress Tisha Campbell filed a lawsuit against Martin Lawrence, claiming sexual harassment and battery on the set of Martin. Harassment so severe that she apparently had producers ban him from the set of his own show. Given what we know about Hollywood these days, it's a wonder that they accommodate her requests. These are not sad clowns. These are all very famous, very powerful men who, in hindsight, appear to have used comedy to mask the truth more than illuminate it. In fact, it's telling that CK fell upon the "I have issues" defense when one woman said she confronted him about jacking off in front of women. When confronted, comedians have a nasty habit of defensiveness, look who's fucking talking, and of playing up the background issues that drive them to crave yucks. And for too long, the comedy world has indulged that ruse, letting a guy like CK invite your pity if he can't get laughs out of you. Ugh. Yeah, there are a lot of broken fucking people in this business. Stupid. He never brings up who he fucking likes, like today's comics. I'm sure he loves the likes of, you know, Pete Holmes. These really guys who have fucking ruined the business with their soft, fake, I'm a feminist, horseshit, emasculating, look at me, I'm a nerd, I've been put down. I like to punch down. How about that? It's all comics talk about is punching up. You know that rule? Punching up. But he never really, you know, lets us in on who he fucking loves today. He says, well, you can watch, he says, he brings up this episode that I was talking about. You can watch extremely uncomfortable vignette featuring Louis dressing down a female audience member who has the temerity to chit-chat during his act. Again, this is one of my favorite scenes ever. The woman in the audience says, and again, this is a make-believe scene from Louis, and he says that, the guy who wrote this. "You're making jokes about rape," the woman complains. "You don't like rape?" CK asks from the stage. "That's really weird because you wouldn't even exist if your mom hadn't raped that homeless Chinese guy. Can you do me a favor? Can you please just die of AIDS? Does anybody have AIDS that can put their dick in her face and get her started on that?" Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. And then after, he says it doesn't end there because after ripping the woman on stage, CK's character lectures her after the set about her rudeness. "A good person," Louis says, "wouldn't interrupt. So you must be a bad person," he tells her. "You have no right to talk to me like that," she counters. And Louis says, "Actually, I do." And then Louis ropes in fellow comedians, including Todd Barry, to further explain. "These guys, comedians, me," this is Louis talking, "these guys don't have a life. This is all they have. Their days are shit. They don't have many friends. They don't have families. They have this. The only good part of their lives are the 15 minutes that they get to be on stage, maybe once a week, and sometimes once a month. And you took that 15 minutes and you ruined it." This is a deft manipulation to the scene, with CK setting up a straw woman to challenge him and then knocking her down as his comic buddies, all guys, he puts in parentheses. This guy's a closet fucking gay guy, or he's got a problem with all guys. He says all guys in the article like 3 different times. And how is that woman a straw woman? That's an actual thing that happens to comedians every night around the country. Most of the time, and female comics, it's a chatty table of girls. And you tell them to shut the fuck up and you say the meanest thing you can think of after you try your clever stuff, and they keep yapping because they're all emboldened and empowered and they can do whatever they want because they have vaginas. So, but to say that's a straw woman or a character that doesn't exist, even filmed in Louis' now widely imitated artsy-fartsy style, it's a pretty blatant rallying cry to other comedians who are apparently tortured by the scourge of people talking at comedy clubs. It's not a fucking... It's an actual... it's an actual thing that exists. It's a big part of being a stand-up, and it does bother the shit out of us. And it was a great lesson to drunken jerk-offs, male or female, that come out to comedy clubs and want to fucking chat during the show. And this bothers this guy. In the scene, the woman Louis berates is the worst person in history for daring to infringe upon his precious 15 minutes of freedom. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you get the point. She's the criminal. She deserves whatever horrible shit CK throws at her because she fails to understand how unhappy he is in his resting state. It's the tired old tortured comedian trope, only weaponized. And even with a new generation of diverse and talented performers coming, there's that word. These little words that, you know, he has swallowed all the PC bullshit, that he's been fed for the last 25 years. 866-969-1969. 866-969-1969 is the number. Even with a new generation of diverse and talented performers coming, there's still this brand of toxicity lingering in the comedy world. You know what he's implying there. You know, white male anger. That still exists. He won't be happy until it's all gay comics, minorities, female. That's what he's getting at. I guarantee you this kid was bullied and fucking picked on, and he sounds like he should be doing comedy for a living. He sounds like every person that flocks to this business. Not everyone, but almost everyone. There's still a brand of toxicity lingering in the comedy world. Well, so what do you want? We should all be Mr. Fluffy, the big heavy-set Mexican kid, or we should all be who? Fucking Chelsea Handler? He just wants anything that's any whiff of testosterone should be to push, especially white male testosterone, should be driven from the stage, I guess. Toxicity lingering in the comedy, born of the strange and deathly seriousness with which many comedians, including CK, venerate their craft. No one takes himself more serious than a comedian. Really? I guess you haven't been around fucking actors much. Alec Baldwin, is that Sean Penn? They don't take themselves seriously. Fucking Will Smith.
How about journalists?
Fucking journalists. This guy's he wrote for Deadspin, this jerk off. He wrote a couple articles for fucking Rolling Stone. So you know he doesn't have an axe to grind politically, right? He even goes after like Norton. He goes, that's why comedians like Jim Norton leapt to Daniel Tosh's defense when he got in trouble for joking about how funny it would be if a woman at one of his shows got raped by 5 men. Or why David Cross gave a completely limp apology to actress Charlene Yee for a racist remark by saying he was in character at the time. There's always an excuse, he says. Can't you see his axe to grind is not with like Louis, the Bill Cosby's world, but actually just guys who had the balls to make a living doing what he wanted to? Anybody read it that way?
If I could, I'd grab this microphone and I'd beat your brains out with it because that's what she deserves. That's what she deserves.
He's a fag.
Nah, we don't know that. I'm just saying it reads like that. There's always an excuse or a misunderstanding, and somehow the comedian ends up playing the victim. The quest for laughter is pure and good, and anyone who complains is, boy, is he talking to me here, just a humorless prick who should be more sensitive to the comedian's primal need to stretch the boundaries of good taste. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what we do. And if you don't fucking like it, don't write about it, don't come around comedy clubs, and mind your fucking business. Go judge a dance contest. Be a fucking critic on America's Got Talent or fucking Dancing with the Retards. Whatever fucking horseshit that doesn't make you nervous. Yeah, a lingering toxicity. Can we? Is there anywhere is there anywhere where testosterone is allowed anymore? Not. My fucking aching stem. Then I grew up idolizing Pryor. I kept every Pryor album meticulously arranged in my little case, Logic cassette case. Well, does that tell you right there? Mine was strewn about the house. Covered in feces, like tonight. Just as I did tapes of raunchy comics like Eddie Murphy, Sam Kinison, and Dice Clay. All of those men not only complained about women, but made it the centerpiece of their act. I swear to God he wrote this to get laid, if he even fucking likes women. Eddie Murphy Raw is basically a 90-minute screed about greedy women and how you can tame them by making them come hard. Kinison had a bit where he sought out a dude in the audience who had been wronged by a woman and then would phone the woman live on stage to call her a bitch and a cunt. Yeah, and your point is? Listen to Kinison's act today and it basically sounds like a Reddit MRA forum turned into a stage show. But I remember being drawn to all those guys because, one, they cursed, and two, they thought they were being brutally honest. I thought they were being brutally honest, but they weren't. It was always a bit suspicious that Kinison never got a busy signal when he called. Yeah, it's so hard to believe that Kinison had issues with women. Sure, he was lying about all that. Oh, this fucking... Where do they raise you? What the... This is guys complaining about this. This sounds like a woman who would have wrote a fucking angry email after one of my shows a couple of years ago. Now I'm like Bob Hope. I just come out there, hey, how are you, folks? Good to be here at the Skid Marks in Buffalo again. I'll tell you. He doesn't even accept Louis' apology. You can even see how CK launders the truth in the public apology he issued on Friday. At first blush, it reads like a self-aware and honest confession until you realize that A, he never once mentions about how he lied about the allegations for years. B, he never actually says sorry. And C, you don't get to plead ignorance about penile etiquette when you're a 50-year-old man. Why not? We're also children, by the way. That's another thing he doesn't understand about comics, that we don't grow up. Then he brings up Artie Lang in here, and Artie talks about how it's an addiction comedy. Do anything to get that laugh and shit, and he poops on that too. Again, just the whole article, again, to me, just an excuse to, throw haymakers at guys who actually have the balls to go out and make a living making people laugh. And everybody wants to do it, whether it's the doctor who's going to look into my ass tomorrow. Then he brings up Artie Lang in here, and Artie talks about how it's an addiction comedy. Do anything to get that laugh and shit, and he poops on that too. Again, just the whole article, again, to me, just an excuse to, throw haymakers at guys who actually have the balls to go out and make a living making people laugh. And everybody wants to do it, whether it's the doctor who's going to look into my ass tomorrow. I told you, he did 8 minutes. The first meeting I had with him before the operation. Everybody does. And I some guy on Twitter years ago hit me up on Twitter saying, something about you make people, strangers, laugh. Kind of a waste of a life. How deep does that sickness go with that guy? But I can't believe it's guys. This is coming from a guy. I guess it's the new male. But I got news for you, Drew. Fucking broads hate you more than they hate me. I'm actually happy because I have this reputation for hating women on stage, which I don't. Anybody knows me. I hate feminists. And not even, I shouldn't say feminists. I hate, far left, ultra, new age feminists who try to speak for other women. That's who I have an issue with. But again, people read that into, oh, you hate women. So, but you know what? Never been accused of grabbing a girl by her shrub, rubbing against her tit at the bar. Shrub? Did I just say? What is this, 1977?
Shrub.
Jesus H. Hey, Fiore, I don't like that I'm looking at myself in this fucking camera. You gotta fix your phone or something. I hit the same button as I always do. What happened?
All right, I'll try you.
Huh?
I'll try you.
You're gonna try me? No, you can't do that. Now you're coming up. You can't, dude. Hang up.
All right.
Hang up. Because you're coming up on my iPad and I can't see my fucking soundboard.
Well, but my shit's working, so it's when you call out, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean?
I do. I know what to tell you. Steve Jobs and everybody who invented this shit, I'm glad they're dead. Or they will be soon. Fucking motherless, titless wonders. Let me drag my ugly face. Not only do I can't see you, I have to look at me. I look like I'm in my late 70s with these glasses on. My hair's receding like a French army. Fucking 1942. Motherfucker! On life. But remember, fellas, you male comics out there, there's this lingering toxicity that, you should be happy. It should be positive comedy. My aching stem. These people. Where do they invent them? Let's go to Luke in Indiana. Luke, welcome to the show. Glad you called. I was about to punch myself in the face. Go ahead.
I'll keep it quick. Anyhow, it's what would Patrice say is my only question. Because I remember he went on Fox News and argued with a feminist and beat her in the argument.
So what?
And as for, it was when Imus got in trouble for, what was it, Tennessee basketball?
Yeah, I remember the whole thing. Big deal.
Well,
it doesn't. It's not a big deal when a black guy wins an argument with a feminist. Do you understand? It's a big guy when a white guy does it. Patrice used to get God, and I love him. He fucking God rest his soul. But I used to always tell him, black comics get away with 50 times more when it comes to gender and shitting on women. They got away with it more because they're on the same team. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not. He had the best, and Luke, he had the best relationship material, no doubt about it. But I'm just saying, if I said it, if Colin Quinn said it, or Fiore said it, you drummed the fucking, misogynist, and you wouldn't see the light of day. You know? Your thoughts, Luke?
Nothing. It was. I also forgot when you just. This will be my last point. When you brought up Sam Kinison calling that guy's wife on the phone, and look it up. That's what I'll say if you haven't seen it. Anyhow, have a good night. Great show. Thanks,
Luke. He gets bent out of shape because I make a good point? I mean, what? Seriously, what kind of fucking... But everybody wants to, people just don't understand political correct. It's not fucking edgy when a black guy shits on women. It's an edgy when a white guy does it and gets huge fucking laughs. It takes way more skill, believe it or not. But Patrice had the best, most misogynistic material. I mean, it was fucking brutal. Nobody batted an eyelash. The same way the feminists didn't bat an eyelash with fucking hip-hop and all that horse shit. These double standards, there's people that still don't pick up on it. But if Luke was on top of it, he would have said, Nick, how would you have handled this? And I would have fucking done what Louis said. I would have called her a twat. I would have sent her an order of drinks, named after famous comedian. I would have sent her around the Bill Cosby's. And, that would have been that. Frazier in Canada. Welcome to the show, Frazier.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Hey there.
Yes, sir.
I'm all right. Yeah, so the only thing I was saying, I want to make a couple of points. First, this stuff is all cyclical, right? I mean, we went through this shit back in the 90s with political correctness. You couldn't say someone's fired. It was downsizing, right-sizing. You couldn't say retarded. It was handicapped or differently abled. I think it's all just coming around again, and I think it's probably going to peter out. My second point
that's not.
Oh, sorry,
well, I got to disagree with you 1,000%.
Really?
That exists. Yeah, it's not cyclical. What you just brought up was different, making fun of handicap and shit. Now it's an indictment. It's a whole indictment on manhood, and it's feminist versus men now, and it's an anti-white male sentiment. It's a lot. We're a lot more polarized now on 1,000 different lines. I started doing comedy, Frazier, back in '88. And after, like I told you, after about 6 months of open mic, somebody came up to me and said, "You're politically incorrect. That's where it's headed." And I'm like, I don't know about that. It's been getting exponentially worse since then. So I don't really agree with that first point. But I wish it was cyclical. I wish it would, but it's getting worse. Don't you feel like we're more polarized now?
Oh my God! Look, I'm a decent looking white guy, and I find I get away with a lot of stuff, and I think most attractive people would say, as long as you're a little charming and you're not a fat grosso, women take it as flirting. But if you're a fat, you got to know your limitations, and I think some of these guys didn't really, they thought because they were in a position of power or money or whatever, they could maybe get away with a lot more. I don't know, but I've said some pretty terrible, funny things that makes a girl giggle. I miss girls just being able to giggle.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but you're conflating everyday life. I'm talking about the comedy world, where the double standards are worse. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing, and I'll just make my second point real quick, was I think that feminism, the issue there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I like your opinions, but throughout history, any group of people that was really disenfranchised or put upon, slavery, the whole bunch, not one person was happy with the climate. Like, not one slave was like, you know what, it's not actually that bad. We get a couple of bits of food a day. We work hard all day.
Wait, how do you know that?
Well,
First of all, how do you know that?
Assumption because I'm gonna make that blanket statement.
Okay, all right.
Was content. Maybe the people, maybe the ones in the house were like tolerant, but
yes.
But I would say with women, like I'm pretty social. I go out quite a bit, dinner parties, house parties, just out socially. And a lot of women sit there and go, "Oh my God, I'm not a feminist." A lot of women are just kind of like, I don't mind being an object of affection every now and then. I don't mind a guy flirting with me. I just understand that's the way men are. We're different from them. They accept it. Now, obviously, there's extremes, but for the most part, there's a good, huge chunk of women that have no relation to or want to be associated with the hardcore feminists who are like, don't say this, don't do that.
I gotta. Thanks for the call, Fraser. I gotta go to break. Yeah, and that is true, but that generation is dying out. Okay, fucking every woman in their 20s, almost every woman, and I'll make a blanket statement since you did, has bought into this fucking anti-male horseshit, and that they've been victims and second-class citizens, which is total horseshit. War against women, my ass. That is such fucking. Go over to Afghanistan. Go over to Middle Eastern countries where they throw acid in the girl's face because she wants to go to school. That's a war against women. But you have a couple generations now. The millennial chicks did reject Hillary because they were like, fuck that. We don't have to. We can do it on our own. We don't have to marry a guy like Bill Clinton to get it done. So we give them thumbs up for that. But when it comes to this stuff, and I'm talking about mostly in the showbiz world, the lines are clearly defined. And then you get guys like this, Drew McCary. So, I don't know. I can't even relate to where he's coming from. But, all right, let's take a break. Let's see if we can figure out the FaceTime thing. And we'll come back. We'll take more calls on that. 866-969-1969.
You're a wormy cocksucker, you know that?
Yes, I do. Back after this. Oh, welcome back. Second segment on a Tuesday. 866-969-1969 is the phone number. And for the first segment, we're talking about Drew McCary, I guess, wrote an article for GQ, and it was entitled, Why All the Comedy Men Are So Awful. It's nice you can use the word all, huh? And just paint with a broad brush. Oh, my God. So anyways, he's I'm trying to figure out his motives. What jumps out at me is a guy. He's a failed comic or wannabe comic, or just he got picked on, or he's trying to get some pussy, which leftist guys do. This is how they go about it. I'm a feminist. I defend women's rights, and then they're as slippery as we've found out with all the Hollywood stories. Obviously, all the libs of the guys in power in Hollywood, and they're fucking filthier than guys like me ever would think of be. I just get labeled a woman hater. And I'm not hating women. The women I hate usually have 5 o'clock shadows and the same fucking hairdo as me, and they detest me for some reason. When you think they like me, I mean, I teach them how to dress, how to wear their hair, and it's really distressing. I've never had a problem with gay people in my life. Feminists, however. Anyhow, so that's what we were talking about. It's just striking to somebody my age, or even Fiore. What are you, 39?
8.
Andy? 30? He gets pissed like he's a hand model. Hey! By the way, I got to have my ass checked tomorrow, 12:45, so.
Just to make sure everything's going all right?
I haven't looked down there once with a mirror. Not once, I'm afraid.
That's good. No, I'm sure it's fine. They'll just tell you everything's okay.
I'll be like Lou Duva in the 90s, checking on Mickey Ward. Whoever he handled back then. But, oh my goodness gracious, Heloise. Okay, what's this talk? This is like the third thing I've heard tonight about my time changing. Have you heard anything, Andy?
News to me.
Read it on the Twitter, and Joe on line 6. Joe, what's the question?
Cavito and Rich claim that they're moving to the 5 o'clock slot on Faction next week.
5 o'clock Eastern time?
And AM or PM?
PM. Yeah, they're getting out of mornings because they hate mornings. Like I said, I heard they were on Craig Ferguson. They said it. I'm just repeating it. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just really kind of surprised.
No, Joe, they're saying they want to do that, or that's actually happening? They've been told that's happening.
They made an announcement.
Okay.
They're on the Craig Ferguson show. They said we're moving to 5 to 8 so that they don't have to get up and do mornings and blah. Yeah.
First of all, isn't that Ferguson's time?
No, he's on. He's our lead-in. Well, you got to remember they're West Coast, so 5 there would be 8 us.
That's what I fucking said. It says Eastern Time, 5 ET. It says what I'm looking at with Joe's call. What's up on the board?
Well, we'll see. So I can tell you this though. Ferguson wasn't live today. They were pre-records all week. So whenever they recorded that, that's not breaking news or the time's off. You know what I mean?
Well, then maybe that's. Yeah, I might have been faked out.
Somebody asked me
Fake
on Twitter,
news.
but
could be. I'm the last to know these things. So,
all right,
Hey,
it's my producer's the last to know.
Can I say one thing?
Guy. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with everything you're saying about this whole comedy thing, but to question the motives of this guy is kind of like picking up the American Nazi newsletter and then being surprised that it's a little bit racist. Come on, GQ, really? Who did they just name Citizen of the Year? And you're surprised that this guy's a feminist, whatever?
No, I'm not surprised. Well, I'm not surprised at that, number one. But number two, the thing I said that jumped out at me is it's how much he fucking hates comedians.
Well, I think he hates anything that isn't a pussy.
Including himself.
Yeah. Hey,
no, I know. I don't fucking hate. I haven't read you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
You and your bunghole have a great night, and I'll move on.
Okay. All right. Another fucking kind of funny, angry guy on the West Coast. All right. See you, Joe. Calls up. So I don't know. So you haven't heard any of this time-changing shit?
No, I haven't heard any of that.
I'd like to be the first to know on some of this shit for once.
Unless, Yeah.
So what are they talking? I want you to Andy,
I'm going to...
Focus.
Yes.
Focus. Okay? I'm reading what it says up on the screen. Joe said, will you address the status of your show? Cambino and Rich moving to, again, it says 5 ET.
Right.
Right? That would be fucking Ferguson's slot. Ferguson's on before us, is he not?
At 6 to 8. Maybe
Okay,
that's
so
a replay, Christina said?
I have no fucking idea. All right.
I think that's just...
I don't know.
Well, I'll text Wicklund.
Huh?
I'll text Wicklund right now.
Do that. Surprise me with some information that I can't get. Let's go to Jose in California. Que paso, Jose?
Hey, mi amigo, how are you?
Oh, muy bien.
What is this freaking world coming down to?
What's it coming down to?
Yeah, to some shit, huh? So anyways, I hope you're doing well on your surgery. I heard that, you had surgery, so
yeah.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, Jose.
You know what really sucks is that you got all this freaking people that now everything's racist or freaking feminist, and I'm just getting so freaking sick and tired of it.
You shouldn't be. You're Latino. It's there to protect you. It doesn't affect you. It affects me, straight white male.
I love my white people, okay? I truly love my white people, and I'm here to defend you in any which way I can. Okay?
No, I know. I hear you.
It just pisses me off, you know? It's like you say something and it's racist and feminist, but someone else can say whatever they want. And it is true that if a black comic says something and you say the same thing, you would be labeled as a racist or a freaking feminist.
Oh, yeah. There's absolutely. There's double and triple standards, and I laugh at some people who haven't even picked up on that yet. They don't even... but my whole thing with this guy was just how much I think he hates comedians, and seems like it's what he wanted to do for a living or whatever. But Jose, thank you for the call, and I hope your state secedes from the...
And I got deported, and I came back to bring a bag of avocados because I know that it's going to be good for your culito.
I've eaten like 6 avocados in the last 2 days. I love them.
You got to put him up down there, you know, rob him over that.
No, I know. All right, Jose.
Nice talking to you, okay?
Take care, brother. All right.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
Let's go to Mike in Florida. He has an opinion on the GQ author.
Hey, Nick.
What's up, Mike?
So, number one, I don't think he even believes what he's fucking writing. I believe all these guys I just believe they're throwing all this shit out to try to piss us off and clickbait us, and and it's working. I don't fucking read the shit no more because he reminds me of the guys that you hang out with by yourselves with them, and then you get around your wives and your girlfriends, and every opinion fucking changes. It's just.
I don't believe that. I believe there's an actual generation of guys who actually bought into this shit. They've been brainwashed.
But if he's collecting prior shit, I'm thinking he's a little bit older. I think he's fucking.
Well, go on WikiLeaks. I couldn't find his fucking age. I could find everything else about him, but he's younger than me. He looks like he's in his 30s. Yeah. I'm saying.
I just all these motherfuckers. They piss me off.
Yeah, well, I don't have I don't have the luxury of doing that. I'm a comic with a radio show, a talk show, so I got to read this shit.
It's interesting, but I actually called in because I wanted to sneak one opinion quick about the Louis story.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So him. I just want to get this over quick. It was years ago when it happened. There's only 5 accusers.
Yes.
Okay, so what I've read from these stories, I'm just gonna blanket they all reek of drug stories. Okay. So if you're going to rail up $300 or $400 of Louis fucking coke at a hotel room at 3 a.m. and he takes his dick out, all bets are off. But I bet you they skipped all that shit. I'm not saying he's a drug addict, but the stories. Not. I know. I'm not saying he's an addict, but I just think those women did drugs with him. Then he got a little goofy on coke, and if you've ever done coke, people do shady shit on coke.
Yeah, I think you're way off on that one. But
you think so?
I have done. Oh, yeah. Louis not a fucking coke guy, but...
No, I didn't say he was an addict, but...
I know you didn't say it. I didn't say you said he was an addict. I'm just saying cocaine was not fucking involved. I can guarantee it. I would say Lipitor...
That bums me out, then. That bums me out.
That bums you out?
Yeah, it does. It bums me out.
Okay,
if it was cocaine.
I know there was some Aleve 2 involved and some extra-strength Tylenol and some Lipitor. He was cutting it with Lipitor.
I was fucking wrong. Okay.
All right, Michael. Again, Thank you. I'm just saying from what I know.
So it says he graduated Colby in 98, which puts him at about 41, 42.
Yeah, there you go. Just at that cutoff.
Liberal elite school, too.
Oh, yeah.
Northeasterly. That's classic.
They call that they call it the Ivy League of whatever, Maine. Wasn't far from where I went to school.
Yeah.
I went to, Orono.
Right.
But I believe, I don't agree with that whole thing that people, guys write this shit just to, but no, some of them actually bought into it. This is what's been shoved down their throat. There's two types of people on the planet right now. People who've bought into the PC horseshit and let themselves be brainwashed by television, by Hollywood, by their college professors, and people who are well aware it's poop. Anyhow, I wanted to get into the. Let's clear the phone. I want to get into the Roy Moore situation. But real quickly, did you see that Tennessee State player knock out his coach on the sideline?
No.
You seen that clip? It's fucking unbelievable, man. I don't know what the fucking world's coming to.
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
Tennessee State senior defensive end Latrell Lee, a brother, was kicked off the team and dismissed from the university after he hit Tigers head strength coach TJ Greenstone Saturday night. Google it, you fucking shit. He hits him twice, knocks him out like this, like sucker punches his coach. Monday, the 22-year-old was expelled from the university. Greenstone, a former defensive lineman at Vanderbilt, is in charge of keeping players from getting too close to the sideline. So here's the case, and the guy looks white, by the way, the coach that got knocked out. By the way, his name sounds white, too. Again, if this was reversed, the races, you'd be seeing it run on a loop on CNN tonight, and all kinds of fucking, protests to be rioting and in Tennessee right now. But of course not. Cole Cox's fucking coach dry gulches him like a fucking coward. Video of the incident shows Lee punching Greenstone in the head 2 times, knocking him to the ground in the middle of the team's game against Southeast Missouri State. They have coaches on the sideline. That's their job, to keep you back. Because if you wander on the field, while plays going on, you get assessed a penalty. So there's actually coaches whose job it is. They have to keep the coaches back, too. But, of course, this guy probably, push this player back or whatever, and him being a fucking angry brother that he is, probably raised in a single-parent home, can't handle that type of authority, especially from Whitey, so he fucking dry gulched him. That's my theory on it. Just so emboldened to fucking... It's just unbelievable. I have 55 years, I've never seen anything like that.
There's something wrong with the black man's mind. There's something wrong with his mind.
Well, no, just this one's. Did you see it, Fiore? Did you find
I just watched it. He cold clocks him like twice.
Twice?
2 big haymakers. And then everybody stands around.
Yeah.
The other players just watch.
Well, naturally. And again, reverse the races on that. You think they'd stand around, or there'd be a fucking... just emboldened, just fucking cowardly, Settle it after in the gym or whatever. Was it Randy White that got... Randy White or somebody, I remember reading an article, he got recruited by Maryland or somebody, and he went, you visit the school that's recruiting you, and he beat up the strength coach. I think it was Randy White.
Randy White.
I'm pretty sure.
That sounds like Randy Moss.
Oh, you remember Randy White for the Cowboys? You don't?
No.
What am I talking to? A fucking dance instructor tonight? Oh, my God. Guy was a fucking MVP of the fucking Super Bowl. Co-MVP with Too Tall Jones, I believe. Just a bad MFer. But John Hanna for the Patriots used to push him around like he was a little girl. He admitted it in an article, too. This guy's a Hall of Famer, Randy White. He's fucking unbelievable. Every year. I mean... Just All-Star every year. And John Hanna used to eat his fucking lunch. I remember him admitting that. Anyways, let me tease this story before we go to break. But the Judge Roy Moore down in Alabama, the guy that's running for Sessions' seat. Sessions left to work for Trump. It's a Senate seat, Alabama. He's the Chief Justice of the state at one time. The guy with the 10 Commandments that he put together on wood and hung in his... he pulled a gun out when he won the primaries and shit on stage. This guy. Anyways, you all been hearing about him because women are coming out of the woodworks saying, again, Washington Post did a story, I think it was last Thursday, about all kinds of stories about him and young girls. And they're still coming out.
This is rape. This is rape.
He's a real Alabama fella, if you know what I'm saying. And this guy, though, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, is Alex Marlow, says the Alabama race is a proxy for insurgents, meaning the far right, real conservatives, against the GOP establishment. And he for one, Alex Marlow, isn't giving up on. He thinks it was a hit piece by the Washington Post. And so him and Breitbart, the website, are defending this guy. But if you read more and more about it, he makes good points as far as it being a hit piece by the Washington Post. He says the site, talking about the Washington Post first broke news of the allegations on Thursday. Breitbart, of which former White House counsel Steve Bannon is the executive chairman, has stood by Moore. The website, meaning Breitbart, published a story with Moore's denial before the Post even put out its original story. Its headlines have cast doubts on the Post's motivations and focused on how its editorial page, which is unrelated to its news coverage, endorsed Moore's opponent. On Sunday, the site published a story it headlined, "Exclusive, Mother of Roy Moore Accuser." This is her talking. "Washington Post reporters convinced my daughter to go public." Of course, that story is widely criticized on Twitter by those who pointed out that persuading a source to go on the record is standard journalistic practice. Breitbart instead portrayed the reporters as engaging in activist behavior. In other words, he's saying it's a fucking hit, but it's both. I think it's after reading these stories, which I'll get into in a few minutes here. He had this reputation for hanging out at malls, like he was in his 30s. he would, on a Friday night, he'd be walking around looking at the teenage pussy. And I know Fiore does that on occasion. Goes over there, pretend he's buying a soft pretzel.
No law against that.
No, exactly. But this guy dated like a 14-year-old, and this is when he's like assistant district attorney, and all kinds of. It's getting kind of weird. The RNC is not giving any more money for this campaign, so it is the GOP establishment. But like I said, from what I've read, we have some audio. I have it. I have it here. We have it. I have an affidavit. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Here's some audio of Roy Moore on a date with one of his young girls. Somebody recorded it.
You a good girl?
I was. I need you to follow me here.
You know me pretty well, don't you, darling?
Yeah.
You're going to get to know me a lot better, too.
Oh, this more.
You thought about me last night, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I know. You know, I think I might have found a companion. Companion for that long walk to the lake. Do you mind if I put my arm around you?
Ooh.
It's okay.
No, I don't mind.
Oh, creepy. But the last accuser, the fifth one, because apparently, like I said, he dated some teens. There's like 4 different girls, and Breitbart's saying these Washington Post people sort of orchestrated this whole thing and had the girls come out of the. It's obviously a hit piece because look at the timing. Some of these things, accusations are 30, 40 years old or whatever, and they're coming out, a month before a big election. But that doesn't mean the shit isn't true. And when you read this stuff, do you want to hear a reel? Do we have time? I can play the clip,
yeah,
right?
We have time.
Clip? This is actually Beverly Young Nelson, her name is. She's the latest and the fifth one. She's claiming that Moore tried to rape her when she was 16. And a couple years later, he signed her yearbook, which... what the fuck? So,
have a great
look,
summer.
Folks.
See you in the fall.
Huh? Exactly. Good luck at college, and I'll meet you behind the Dairy Queen. But this is an actual, and she's upset, and sorry, but I believe this woman, and she's going to explain. Met her after, took her to a restaurant, then brought her in his car behind the restaurant, and fucking kind of got a little rough with her. But this is Beverly Nelson.
He stopped the car and he parked his car in between the dumpster and the back of the restaurant where there were no lights.
Lights.
The area was dark and it was deserted. I was alarmed and I immediately asked him what he was doing. Instead of answering my questions, Mr. Moore reached over and began groping me and putting his hands on my breast. I tried to open my car door to leave, but he reached over and he locked it so I could not get out. I tried fighting him off while yelling at him to stop. But instead of stopping, he began squeezing my neck, attempting to force my head onto his crotch. I continued to struggle. I was determined that I was not going to allow him to force me to have sex.
That boy is a P.I.G. pig.
Hear ye! Hear ye! The court's in session. The court's in session now. Here come the judge. Here come the judge.
Well, when I fucking smash his fucking face in.
So there's all kinds of, And they're interviewing people now, and they're like, it was common knowledge that he liked young girls and would hang out at malls. And actually, they have quotes from security guards that worked at some of these malls that they were told to keep an eye on certain people, people who started fights at malls, and he was one of the guys to keep an eye on him. So the RNC pulled the funding from this campaign and blah, blah, blah. So I tend to believe the girls here. And by the way, this woman here voted for Trump. So it wasn't, but again, you can't ignore the timing. You know what I mean? His shit is old. So, but that doesn't mean it's not true. So, McConnell, already said, McConnell said, I believe the woman. I believe the girl. And I think Ryan said he should step down. A bunch of people, 17 Republicans, I think, have told him to get out of the race. But what is your opinion, folks? Is it a hit piece? Should he stay in? I mean, this last accuser, grabbed her by the neck. So I don't know what's legal, what's not legal. By the way, France is thinking about lowering the consent age to 13 over there. So that came out today, ironically. So I think he's running for something over there. And anyhow, I would like your opinion if he should stay in the race. So what's the dealio? Is this a well-timed hit piece or is it legit? 866-969-1969. Back right after this. Yeah, 866-969-1969 is the phone number.
Hear ye.
Talking about Judge Roy Moore,
The court's in session.
who likes young females, or he did.
Come to judge.
And again, the other stuff. He was in his 30s. He dated like girls in their teens and stuff. Like 4 of them came out last week, and one of them was a woman named Lee Kaufman. Told the Post, so when she was 14, Moore, then 32, approached her outside of her mother's custody hearing. Days later, she said Moore picked her up, brought her to his home, and fondled her and placed her hand on his penis over his underwear. I was doing that this afternoon myself. Moore denied knowing Kaufman during an appearance on Sean Hannity's radio show Friday, but admitted he dated a lot of young ladies. Moore and his allies have said that the Post story is a manufactured political hit job engineered to derail his candidacy weeks out from the special election to fill Jeff Sessions' seat. Even that sounds filthy. As the days have passed since the initial story broke, Republican senators have called for Moore to back out of the race. Of course, most of them are moderates. This is what Breitbart was talking about. They're saying this is really a fight for the soul of the, they want that more populist, nationalist, they want a real conservative in there. And Mitch McConnell and the swamp creatures are shitting their pants and doing anything they can. And I'd like to know your thoughts. 866-969-1969 is the phone number. Let's go to our buddy Leonard on line 3 in Georgia, a regular caller. Welcome to the show, Leonard. How are you tonight?
Well, I'm doing good, Brother Nick. How about yourself?
Pretty good, thank you.
First off, we don't know what really went on in 1979. I, too, was trying to date 14-year-olds, but I was 16 during that time, I think. Honestly, I believe you hit it on the head when you said it was the timing. You look back at what they did to Trump, what they did to Herman Cain. It's always. And what I'm having a hard time, I'm not saying ladies true or not, but what I'm having a hard time is she's got to be, 50s, early 50s by now? She's lived close to 40 years, and all of a sudden this is a burden on her, and she has to get it out? Or is it the Washington Post saying, come on, read your story, let's get it on the air? Your thoughts, my recently healed asshole friend.
Here's my thoughts. My thoughts are That's what Breitbart, the guys that work at Breitbart, their editor-in-chief, is saying that they're saying that the Washington Post journalists are acting more like activists, and they orchestrated. It is kind of funny how all these 4 women come out at once when these are really old accusations or incidents, I should say. And so, yeah, I mean, that smells fishy as hell. But their answer to that, the Washington Post says, that's just how it works in journalism. You tell people to go on the record all the time. That's standard practice. I don't know. I'm not in journalism. I'm barely in radio. So I don't know which one. But let me ask you a question, because you're a Southern man, and maybe it's a little different down there. But do you believe him, or do you think what? Do you believe the Washington Post that this guy's a creep?
Well, I have my own personal opinion about politicians in general, but when he says he's 32 years old and trying to date young women, you remember being 32. I remember being 32. If I had the money and the power and the looks to date a young woman, I'd try to date them. Now, maybe not quite 14, because at 16, I believe, the age of consent in Alabama, unless they're your cousin, then it doesn't matter. But no, I believe him. He dated all kinds of young girls. You're talking about almost 40 years ago.
All right, Leonard, but one of them was 14. So that's the issue.
Did he know that at the time? And if he did, why? If he was, I believe they said he was the district attorney at the time, assistant DA.
Yeah.
If they knew that at the time, and this happened as the way they said it, and he tried to assault her, well, yeah, he should be held accountable for it. But
right.
You know, Mom's coming out now. She's 71 years old and saying, you know, this happened to. Well, what was going on in '79? He was the district attorney. There's been a whole lot of money coming her way, or at least some judgment for him. You know, what happened then? That's my question.
Yeah. Well. Anyways.
So creep or not, I don't know.
You say he should stay in the race?
Oh, sure, stay in the race. See what happens. You know, just don't get them kicked out. Something else will. They're all a bunch of lying cocksuckers. But, you know, Mojo Nixon's word, not mine.
Exactly. All right, Leonard. Always good to hear from you.
Yes, sir, brother. Hope you heal. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. That's what I could use right now with this ass pain. Somebody like Leonard to baptize me, born again, and bring me down one of them rivers. It's like a...
You got a river? You got a lake?
I do have a pond over there. That's right. But I don't want a snapping turtle getting a hold of.
Oh, gee.
I did one of those sitz bass things, you know, those plastic little toilets you put on top of your toilet and you fill it with like 6 inches of warm water. Jesus, I gave birth to triplets. It was like, I cannot wait for this to be older. Oh, my God, it's horrendous. I want to thank Jonathan Keller, by the way, for contributing to the Nick DiPaolo podcast. If you want to do that, go to connectpal.com/Nick. You can subscribe. You get 5 shows a week, $3.99 a month. I just had to get that in. Keller is a heavy hitter, and he's always donating. And thank you so much, Jonathan. Let's go to Larry, our friend in Missouri. Larry, your thoughts on Judge Moore? I know last night we touched on it right before the show ended, and I think you were of the mindset that this is just a fucking political hatchet job by the Washington Post, as usual. Your thoughts?
I got to say that, yeah, I think it is, Mr. DiPaolo. And by the way, good day. And I have sympathies with your asshole. I need my asshole fixed, but I don't think I'll ever be able to do anything with him. Well, I think the difference between your asshole and the politicians is you can't fix a politician because they only let you spay and neuter your pets. So you can't fix them fuckers to keep them from breeding. And I got to tell you that I really do believe that it is a complete and total hit piece. This guy was Chief Justice of the state of Alabama in a very powerful legal position in the state of Alabama, and you don't hear a word of this, not a word of it anywhere.
That's why, though. Alabama. Maybe that's why. He was such a powerful guy in Alabama. Those people were afraid to come forward.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. There would have been legal protections for them before he ever assumed that position. He's right. The people of state Alabama know his character. Right. But the Republicans have had a history of not wanting to deal with conservatives. that Bush
true.
and Rove, I'm talking about W and Karl Rove, when a conservative defeated one of their hand-picked moderates in a primary, they would rather lose the election than deal with a principled conservative. No one wants this principled conservative in D.C. Nobody wanted any principled conservative in D.C. They fought him tooth, nail, and claw, and Bannon has made it his mission to defeat and replace Mitch McConnell. And Mitch Rush theorizes that possibly this is an FU back to Bannon by taking out Roy Moore, because if he was right, and what I've heard from other sources is that the Republicans can invalidate this election if Moore wins by disavowing him from being a Republican, and it's just as if the election never happened. And the guy that he defeated in the primary is the senator for the state of Alabama right now, the one that Moore defeated in the primary.
Well, Luther Strange?
Right, yeah, he's the senator for the state of Alabama right now. Luther Strange is. And Trump didn't even endorse Roy Moore. Trump didn't even endorse this stuff.
I know.
Nobody wants conservative in D.C. That's why I know this is a hatchet job. And only 2 women have accused him of improprieties. Really? I mean, really? He's got the bitch by the neck. And then he lets her go and lets her get out of the car when he's gone to that step, really, and she couldn't open the door and he let her go, really? He's gone to the steps of trying to choke her out and then lets her out of the car?
Well,
really?
That's what Fiore does, my producer, every Saturday night.
Oh, not every.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but you don't understand what neck and what head he's grabbing. He might be grabbing that head.
Usually a Boy Scout.
Well, yeah, it's entirely possible, because I know Louis C.K.'s penis says to his brain, it's always cute when you think you're in charge. Really, I really believe this, Mr. DiPaolo, with all my heart. This is an absolute hatchet job to stop a principled conservative from going to D.C. and doing something about that quagmire that exists inside the Beltway.
I know. I mean, we call these guys GOP moderates, the Mitch McConnells of the world. They're just globalists, aren't they? They're really the George W. Bushes. They're on board with all the assholes out of Yale and Harvard, aren't they? There's no. They're really afraid of this nationalist populist thing, aren't they? Why is that such a dirty word? Or words, I should say.
Well, because they have coveted the power Democrats wielded for a generation.
Right.
Democrats ran everything in this country for an entire generation, and it bugs them beyond all belief. That's why they're becoming so violent, because they actually have no more power. And they have wanted to wield that power. The reason they don't repeal Obamacare is because they want to run it. They don't want to get rid of it. They want to run it. They want to run all the stuff that Democrats did. Bush was no conservative. He lied through his teeth about being conservative to get elected. Right. He created an entitlement. He let Ted Kennedy write the education bill, and he attacked and abandoned every conservative. And they've so redefined conservative so they can actually look at themselves in the mirror and say conservative without cringing when they're absolutely no conservative of any kind. They really do want to wield power. That's why they go there. They don't want to go there to devolve Washington and get rid of it and return the powers to the sovereign state. Judge Roy Moore told the Supreme Court to screw off about the monument because I enforce the laws of the state of Alabama. And this does not violate the laws of the state of Alabama. And they actually had to remove him as Chief Justice because he told the Supreme Court to piss the fuck off. Think they're scared of him in D.C.? They will stop nothing to keep this guy from D.C. But it's up to the voters of the state of Alabama, Mr. DiPaolo. That's who it's up to. The voters of the state of Alabama.
And that is exactly right. But I got to let you go, Larry. I get calls building up here. But you said the Republicans have the power, even if he wins this thing, to kick him out of that seat anyways?
Yes, by disavowing him from being a Republican and invalidating the entire election. They have that power.
What the fuck? Then why are we even bothering? I don't understand these rules. Anyways, all right, Larry.
You understand nationally what would happen if the Republicans ignored the will of the people of the state of Alabama and invalidated an election? You realize the fallout in today's political climate across the country?
That happened in California, didn't it? Remember when they voted on the gay marriage thing? The fucking politicians out there ignored the will of the people.
but they used the courts. They used the courts to overturn the will of the people using the courts. Just a Republican establishment saying, "Nah, he's not a Republican anymore. This election wasn't valid. He's not a senator."
Yeah.
And they have the power to do that. Secretary of State of the state of Alabama, who validates all statewide elections, said they can do this. He's the Secretary of the state of Alabama. Look it up. He said they can do it.
Thank you, Larry.
No
Tremendous
problem,
call.
Yeah.
Always well informed. Thank you. Thank you. All I heard was an asshole. He knows his shit, doesn't he, Fiore?
Sure does.
Telling you. This guy says he's driving a truck full of what? With books, apparently. Jesus Christ. Hope he's bringing it to Kentucky. What? Let's go to Dave in Chicago. Dave has some opinion on Judge Roy hanging out at the malls. Dave, I know you hang out at the One Potato 2 on occasion, looking at some young ass. Am I right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. When I was like 16, but the whole point is, I mean, I don't know what your opinion's been on the allegations that the women have been bringing forward, but if you look at the accounts in the New Yorker when they're all these people in Alabama saying he was in his 30s,
yes,
he was going out there on Friday night, Saturday night. I mean, come on.
But Dave,
in his 30s going to
okay, even that's true. Okay, let's say that's true. Okay. First of all, it's not illegal, but bigger point. Okay, that was how many years ago, and it's coming out now. So, I mean, come on. Where were these allegations when he ran for 19 other offices in Alabama?
People sit on this stuff forever, and he's been in positions of very high power within the state of Alabama throughout the entire time. I mean, it's people in high positions of power have been seemingly immune to the stuff coming out before. I mean, look what happened with Weinstein. When you're in
I know, but this is political, Dave. This is political, and it's obviously orchestrated by the Washington Post and the fucking GOP establishment, and that's what makes it dirty pool.
Say what you want to know. Say what you want about the man who owns the Post. I mean, Bezos and Amazon. But
yes,
I mean, you're, and his motivations. But any publication, would have come on this based on what sources are saying. And, granted, I think somebody probably just sat on this story for a while until they decided it was the right time to...
For a while? Some of these accusations are 30-something years old. That's how you know it's a fucking joke.
Well, of course. But you have to understand, I mean, passage of time, you're looking at a state like Alabama, you're looking at situations where where a lot of these women may have felt like they were wrong that it happened in the first place. You have to think about the societal pressure there is not to even talk about it. So just the fact that 30 years has passed, I don't think that that's necessarily,
I do.
Demonstrative
I think it's evidence that the journalists at the Washington Post and all these four girls speak out now. They don't even know each other. They said, I mean, come on.
Well, I mean,
too many coincidences.
Look at the bill. Right. Look at the Bill Cosby stuff. I mean, a lot of those.
Look at the Bill Clinton stuff. Let's stay with politics. Look at the Bill Clinton stuff.
Well, we can talk about politics. We can talk about celebrity. But I think the pressure of silence is the same. And you look at, look at Bill Cosby again. It would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to argue that. That at least a sizable number of those allegations have a lot of merit to them when you think about the number of women who come forward with allegations stretching throughout 4 decades. And the stories, and you also have to listen to the stories. You have
Guilty.
To listen,
again, he was drugging people and raping them. This guy did nothing like that. I got to run, Dave. Thank you. I got to go. Thank you.
All right.
Let's go to Efren, line 5 in Texas, who disagrees with Dave. He says it's a hit job. Efren, your thoughts? You son of a
Nicky
bitch. How
boy,
are you?
Love your show, man. You need to come down to South Texas and red pill these assholes. Anyway, like you were
your
saying,
thoughts.
Ultimately, this is a hit job, plain and simple. Like you said, these accusers are just coming out now when it's going to hurt this guy. And like you said, Harvey Weinstein, George Takei, and Louis C.K. I found him funny, but hey, you know what? It is what it is, right? Truth is the truth. And ultimately, now is when they're coming out with this? Come on. You know, there's even some reports where apparently possibly some of them have been paid about $1,000. One of the girls that refused $1,000 kind of blew the whistle on it and said the Washington Post, you know, offered me $1,000.
Now, wait a minute. Now, hold on. Let me stop you there, Efren. What publications did you read that in?
This is that horseshit Twitter, and whether it's true or not, I'm not going to say it's validated, you know, but you know how Twitter is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't get your news from Twitter and don't quote it if you want to have a serious conversation. I mean, unless it was like a New York Times thing on Twitter or whatever. But yeah, I wouldn't go to Twitter for my information.
Hey, but you know what? I wouldn't put it past these liberal cucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've done some pretty dirty things in the past. Like you said.
Oh, they're filthy. They're filthy people. Sure. All right.
But I tell you what, when you're coming down to South Texas, man, I need you to red pill my goddamn Hidalgo County. There are a bunch of liberal cucks down here.
I don't know if you can find me a venue and guarantee me 500 people at $40 a ticket. I'll be there with bells on.
Now, I'll tell you what, you got $40 right here. Wait.
Okay, we need 499 more of those. Thanks, Efren.
Nice talking to you.
All right. My aching stem. That's what my asshole feels like right now. It's ringing like a goddamn. Let's go to Jake in New Jersey. Apparently has an opinion on the Roy Moore situation.
Hey there, Nick.
Jake, what's happening?
Hey, I've never heard of such fucking bullshit as your fucking Larry and your fucking bullshit fucking hack jobs and your fucking... Are you kidding me?
Jake, no offense, Larry sounds a lot more educated than you do right now, but go ahead.
Yeah, right. Larry's fucking educated. Let me just tell you something. How the fuck do you figure that this woman's fucking making up this shit just because it's fucking this asshole's gonna fucking try to take a fucking position?
He didn't say she was making it up.
Yeah, well, basically he was saying he was making it up. There was that asshole from fucking Alabama. You got 3 fucking Southerners there that are trying to stick up with this fucking asshole fucking judge. You kidding me? And you can't be that naive to know that fucking that the ladies are making that up.
I didn't say they were making it up. I guess you haven't been listening very closely.
I know that.
Jake?
I'm sitting there listening.
I'm saying it's both. I'm saying it's both.
Halfway through the fucking, every time somebody says something, you flip flop.
I don't. What are you fucking talking about? I said this is what I said. Jake, shut the fuck up, Jake. Jake, shut up and let me get a word in. You fucking moron. Typical fucking New Jersey, fucking tri-state. You're a fucking leftist douchebag. Fucking typical tri-state fucking liberal idiot.
You motherfucker.
You're a fucking dumb sack of shit, Jake. What?
He hung up. Yeah, he hung up.
Fucking idiot. Belligerent asshole right from the beginning. I said it's both a hit job. I said the girls are telling the truth, and it's a fucking hit job. Larry fucking disagreed and said it was just a hit job. I didn't agree with that. Fucking 10 beers into the fucking, then calls the show. That's the Northeast you get. See the difference between a Leonard from Georgia or fucking Larry? That's the Northeast fucking version of fucking liberal who just belligerent right from the fucking get-go. Boy, they get uppity, don't they? When somebody's pushing their fucking, somebody's resisting their PC horse shit. Anyhow, let's take one more on this. We got time?
Yes, let's do one more.
Let's go. Let's go to Joe in North Jersey, since the last Jersey call was so good. Joe, go ahead.
Hey, Nick, yeah, fuck that guy. He's an asshole. But as far as Roy Moore, he's definitely guilty.
Guilty of what, Joe? Joe, guilty of what?
Guilty of being a creepo. But even not even that, Nick. I wouldn't want him to be in the Senate because he fucking subverted the Constitution. That's why he got kicked out of the judgeship. Regardless of whether you agree with it or not, if you're a real conservative, you fucking follow the Constitution. You don't sit on your fucking throne as a judge, act like a king, and say, I don't have to apply to these laws. fuck him, dude. He's a piece of shit.
Okay, but people like Larry, who are more versed in this stuff than I am, said he didn't subvert the Constitution. It had to do with the state.
No, but the problem is you can't have the Ten Commandments sitting in your courthouse because that's a clear fucking church-state conflict. You can't have that, dude.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
take the word God off fucking money.
Would you want to go to a court that had the Quran fucking or you know what I mean? Whatever.
Hey Joe, this country is founded on. I'm not a religious guy. I'm not into all that shit either. But it was founded on Christian Judeo beliefs. This country.
Absolutely. And I don't.
And the guys that founded it, the founding fathers were very religious. And I don't see what he did was a big deal. Matter of fact, it was kind of refreshing him standing up to the government and saying, "I'm not going to fucking do what you tell me." No worse than these mayors with sanctuary cities who are ignoring Trump.
No, I think they're douches too, and I just, I'm worried about the Constitution more than anything because the fucking Second Amendment and the First Amendment, once they start trampling on the other fucking amendments, it's not far away that they're going to start doing it to the ones we like.
Right.
All right. You got to protect that shit.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Have a great night.
Joe. All right. Let's take a break, folks. 866-969-1969. Back with more right after this. Final segment on a Tuesday night. 866-969-1969 is the phone number. And people arguing about Roy Moore. And my take on it was that the girls are probably telling the truth. I'm trying to find out what he did illegally. And that the Washington Post obviously did a hit job, too. And orchestrated all this right before a big election. It doesn't have to be one or the fucking other, was my point. But, everybody down there was like, well, yeah, he was known to, see him in a mall on a Friday night by himself, walking around. Yeah, and Bill Clinton did what he did. I mean, does any of it matter? Jesus Christ. It's what makes him a great politician. I don't know. Bunch of creeps out there. Doesn't matter. We're all going to be branded rapists by the end of the year.
Drew McGarry's already branded us.
Yes, we're all pigs. All comedians have just fucking horrible today. And we started the article with that. That's the thing. You don't even have guys on our side now. Right. And you're like, okay, what's their motivation? Is it pussy or do they really believe it? And I happen to believe that they really believe it. Colleges and, they've had this shit shoved down their throat forever. If you watch enough movies and garbage out of Hollywood, you realize the white fucking straight male is the problem. So. Let's go to Chase in California. Chase, what's happening?
I swear to God, I'm not a liberal cocksucker like the rest of the people in this state.
No, California's got a mix. It's a real mix out there.
Yeah, I swear to God, I hope this place breaks off into the ocean and grab a boat and sail back. Just on the last caller, what are you saying about Judge Roy Moore there? People kind of forget the definition of a word. The word or, the word and has a meaning, just like the word of or from. Right. So we have you don't have the freedom from religion. You have the freedom of religion.
Right.
Fucking people. I mean, they really got to look and pay attention to what the hell they're talking about here. And they get their ass, their panties all in a bunch over something fucking stupid. And it's like, that's our right. And they don't get it. Somehow they just say that this is, makes the person a bad person. They have a set of, morals and a compass. So.
Especially in the Northeast. I mean, they, people who were raised in Jersey and New York and Connecticut, I mean, they talk about bigoted. They just see a guy like Roy Moore with his cowboy hat and shit and just fucking, for people who are always saying you shouldn't prejudge anybody or paint people with a broad brush, they're the fucking, they do it more than anybody. They look at that Roy They see him with his cowboy hat and his gun on stage, and they're like, "What a fucking!" He probably religious too. What a fucking! I've never. Again, I'm from Boston, and again Northeast, but I wasn't aware of it till I got down here, and I started reading two papers. I started to read the Times a little bit, and then the Post, and I couldn't believe the fucking arrogance and being in show business, being surrounded by these people who just. I mean, I've never experienced such arrogance in my fucking life.
It's unbelievable.
And you're right. It starts with the language, Chase. You're right. It starts with the language, and words don't mean anything anymore.
Well, Nick, you forgot though. The only people that you can't that can't be judged that way are the Muslim terrorists. Everybody else, you can paint a broad stroke and call a bunch of gun-toting Bible thumpers or whatever the hell. But, you can't do that to the Muslims.
It's the first thing that Democrats will tell you. It's the first thing Pelosi and Chuck Schumer will say after a terrorist attack is, don't you dare paint them all with a broad brush.
We had another gun shooting today, or another school shooting today here in California.
I know.
We're all going to have to hear it, how the gun owners are bad, and there's millions of us that didn't do anything today.
I know. I started to read. I got so distressed. I go, I can't even keep up with it. And it's funny. It was on the Drudge Report. It showed up on the page. By the end of the day, it was gone. That's how I talk about we've become desensitized to this shit. It didn't even stay up there that long. And I believe 5 people were killed. Were they not?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it was 2 kids.
Something like that.
Not downplaying it, but I know we're going to have additional laws here in California.
Yeah, you'll get lectured. So. Absolutely. All right, Chase. Thanks. You're breaking up. Appreciate it. All right. Jimmy in Manhattan. Jimmy, what's happening?
Hey, Nick, I do think it was a hit job. And the reason I think it's a hit job is that he's a religious guy. He could have said any time in the last week, listen, I wasn't a good person when I was younger, but I developed a more personal relationship with Jesus, and please forgive me, and there would have been no problem. But I don't think it happened because that should have been what's been said, and now they're like hitting him on that.
But and again, it's an Alabama election. It's not a national election. If he was to say that in a national election, he'd get laughed at today. This country is so anti-religious now, and so secular, I should say. He didn't come out and say. Oh, I don't know. I haven't read all his quotes. Maybe he did say some that. But you're right. I don't remember hearing that from him. So.
Yeah, I mean, the national people are going after him like they won't swear him in to the U.S. Senate. That's not their authority to do that. It's the state of Alabama that's doing that. But I don't think he did it because he could have said that, and I think he would still get the votes.
You don't think he did? You don't think
secret? Go ahead.
You don't think he did what specifically?
I don't think he did all the, like I said, the last thing that was brought out. And when you see Gloria Aldred too, then I don't even know if I want to hear it. Yeah. But like that, it became an assault, which was that wasn't what was going on. The other 3-4 narratives were him being uncomfortable with it, and he did a little touching here, and he stopped. This last thing was more of an aggressive assault, and that behavior usually escalates into more and more and more. And it's been 40 years ago. And if he did do it then, there was probably worse stories then that happened in the decade afterwards.
Right.
That's all.
Yep. All right. It's much better. It's getting better by the day.
I'm praying for it. I've been praying by the week for it.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I just want you to know. Yeah,
all right. Take it easy. Chris in Alberta, Canada. Canada always weighing in on the U.S. politics. Chris, what's happening?
Not too much. How's it going tonight, Nick?
Pretty good.
That's good. I'm just calling in about what you were talking about earlier. People, the whole generation of guys buying into this bullshit. And
what bullshit? Now, hold on. You're a subject behind. We're talking about the Roy Moore, the judge thing now, but you're talking about what? The PC stuff in general? The opening story I did about comedy?
Yeah, you bet. I had to jump out for a little bit there. I missed that. But, there's that one guy that called that thought they were just doing it to get a rise out of us, and he said everybody buying into it. You're absolutely right, but in some ways you almost can't blame them. Like, if you got kids in school, I'm not sure on American education, but they're indoctrinated up here. If you don't have kids at home that is fighting this shit every step of the way, sitting the kids down and telling them what's right, what's not right, you know, you almost can't blame the fucking kids, you know?
No, I know. I've said that on I've said that on this show many times because you know we're a media driven society and the stuff that you know they're saturated in it, whether it's at school or when they come home and put on the TV or the internet. The internet's even a bigger part now. But yeah, they're saturated in this PC horse shit. So I mean, you know,
they live it. They live and breathe that shit. This younger generation. And they didn't have a parent that sat them down.
Yeah, no, exactly. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Chris. It's true. We talked about that. I talked about with Fiore, my producer here, as far as comedy clubs and shit. There's generations now. There's people running comedy clubs that were raised on this garbage. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing, I think it was Bobby Slayton getting in trouble at one of the clubs in Philly. You know, some black woman was heckling him, and he zinged her back. You know, whatever. Didn't say anything heinous or fucking, you know. But she wrote an angry email to the club, and next thing you know, he's not getting invited back. You know, which would never happen in the day. You know, unless somebody said something horribly racist, whatever, and you deserve to get banned. But that was the case from all the stories I heard. So you have people who are raised on this stuff now calling the shots, and some comic that's like of your generation, Andy. I remember somebody was doing something in Wisconsin, one of those clubs, and got sent home. They were told a different reason. When they got home, they found out it was because like a rape material that bothered people.
I know.
I mean, I don't want to say.
Okay,
because,
that's what I thought.
But it's definitely infiltrating every corner of the earth. But the whole Hollywood thing, that's just turned into, you know, feminists versus men. I mean, people are coming out of the woodworks now and, oh, you know, I was a waitress and David Brenner grabbed my ass back in 1978. Okay. All right. We're all guilty. Let's go to Mikey in upstate New York. He says more should plead insanity. Go ahead, Mike.
How you doing?
What's happening?
Yeah, he should plead insanity. He's just crazy about that stuff.
Why you think he's insane, really, or is he just he was a healthy male in his 30s who liked young girls? What's the matter with that?
There ain't nothing wrong. It's just an old Cheech and Chong joke that I always liked, you know. I think it's a real setup, this whole thing. I don't think there's any doubt. Otherwise, it don't come out at the time it did and everything else.
Yeah, they've been quiet a long time on these stories, and it's not like he's been not active in politics down there. So it's very weird. But like I said, I think both is true. I think he's kind of a creepy dude, and the Washington Post, you know, don't want guys like this anywhere near the Senate.
Yeah, and on that guy writing about the comedians earlier, I think he went on a date with a comedian one time, you know, and he woke up in a cheap motel with a sore asshole and no money for cab fare, and it left a bad taste in his mouth.
Yes, thank you for the call, Mikey. And the guy he woke up with, a very young comic out of Jersey, Andy Fiore, ladies and gentlemen. Did you hear that guy singing?
I know.
Bad taste in his mouth, sore asshole. I pictured him jotting that shit down before he made the phone call. We should have hit him with the crickets on that one. I'll give him something better.
If I could, I'd grab this microphone and I'd beat your brains out with it because that's what you deserve. That's what you deserve.
John in New York has a question about Cosby, comparing it to this thing. John, what's happening?
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Pretty good. What's happening?
So I got to say, I got to disagree with you and a lot of the callers here.
All right.
You know, you look at all of these cases that have come out lately, Cosby and Weinstein and Roger Ailes and Bill, whatever the hell his name, O'Reilly. You know, there's a reason that women don't tell these stories when they happen. They're, one, when it comes out later, of course, when you hear there's 50 people, it's like, well, why didn't all 50 people? But individuals don't know that there's 49 other people who went through the same thing. A 16-year-old girl sits with this, And, this is something she has to figure out in her own head. But the claim that because they came out late, it's probably not true, then what we're saying is there's hundreds of women between Cosby and all this stuff, between the gymnastics, that thing, whatever's going on with
but John, you're doing the classic mistake of what the media is doing now. You're conflating Bill O'Reilly with Bill Cosby and Louis C.K. with a guy like Cosby.
Well, I think that conflating.
Because they're apples and oranges. I mean, Cosby's being accused of fucking raping almost 50 women. They all have the same story. Are you going to throw Louis C.K. into that same category or Bill O'Reilly for sexual harassment? I mean, is it the same thing?
I think sexual harassment is pretty generous if you're talking about a guy who invites women to his room and then takes out his dick and jerks off in front of them. That's slightly different.
When I said sexual harassment, I was talking about O'Reilly, actually.
All right, well, fine, O'Reilly. But, then fine, the gymnastics girls, how about them? They didn't come out. They didn't come out at the time.
They were 6.
People think that... What?
It says because they were 6 years old.
Well, fine, that's a fair argument, but a 16-year-old... It's the same type of thing. They don't know that he's doing this to other people. And if they come out and say the Supreme Court guy, tried to finger me, they're right. Who's going to believe them when they don't know that there's 5 other people who went through the same thing?
Okay, but John, but this guy from Alabama, right, is Roy Moore. He's been in politics, all kinds of politics down there for years. He's run for all different stuff. You don't find it just a little skeptical that now, we're talking about a Senate seat, that the Washington Post finds 4 women?
Well, I would say that, a lot of people don't really care what's going on in Alabama. Now this guy's running for national office. That's one thing. So he's on more people's radar. The other thing is...
that's my point. So now it's important to people like the Washington Post to make sure this doesn't happen.
Yeah, I guess so, because now he's going to be affecting national politics and not
right.
just Alabama, where the Washington Post probably, you're right, doesn't really care. Right. But this is for a national election. If he was running for a local Alabama election, you're right, you might not have heard about it. But this guy wants to be one of 100 people who make our laws. So now it seems more important to find out what this guy's all about, really. The other thing is, if I can just bring it up quickly, I think also with all of the accusations that are coming out against other people, these women in general who have, were whatever happened to them, there's strength in numbers. It's not a surprise. When it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
But it's not a surprise that some people come out and then more people come out. Like I'm saying, these individuals, the first person that comes out is very brave.
Yes.
The people that come after that are also brave, but a little less, right? They saw something else and they think, like, I'm not alone. So I don't think there's something weird at all about, that they would all come out at once 30 years later.
Well, but a lot of the people are coming out with like minor discretions now. It's like, my boss, brushed up against me. You know what I'm saying? We live in a different time, especially with social media. They're like, I can get my 10 minutes of fame. I remember when David Brenner fucking touched my tit, when I was a waitress. I mean, now they're coming out of the woodworks. Some of them are valid. Some of the stories are valid, actual sexual harassment or assault. And some of them are cheapening it and by coming up with trivial shit.
Absolutely. But, but that can't be the basis of your argument that some people may be lying, that Roy Moore is an innocent man because it's 30 years later and some women, embellish these things.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's an innocent man. I just want to know what he's guilty, what he did illegally. And I think he is a creepy dude. And I think that the Washington Post, timing is very fishy. I think both can be true at the same time.
Okay, that's fair, but I don't think that excuses. Well, can I ask you this? Because you made one comment before. I know you were joking about, my boss smacked me on the ass, 20 years ago, whatever you said.
Right.
20 years ago, that still was not okay. Is that a high crime? Of course not. But just because it was 20 years ago and just because it was a pat on the ass, I think what's going on right now in this country is we're finding out that women are not treated as respectfully as we all kind of thought that they were, and it makes us feel shitty that, men...
Don't let me in with you creeps. I never did anything.
Well, yeah. But, to hear all this come out, it's a little shocking to us. Like, really? Like, every level of position, of job, like, everywhere, these women are dealing with this?
Well, yeah. That's yeah. Every level. It's not just fucking Hollywood, because men have a certain DNA and women have a certain DNA. And it's not...
Man, and I don't have the DNA to go choke a 16-year-old and tell her no one will ever believe her. That's not man DNA. No,
now we're changing stories again. If you're talking it doesn't surprise me that you're hearing all this stuff from the past. Is what I'm saying. What's happening here? We're doing what we do with slavery and stuff. Well, the founding fathers owned slaves. We're applying today's social norms to fucking 1850, and now it's going on today. As far as the gender and sexual harassment, times have definitely changed. And if you apply to what shit went on, and I'm not trying to justify it, but yeah, a lot of hanky panky went on in the office. Probably guys. Well, you saw this show, Mad Men. I mean, not every woman was put off by that shit either.
I think is sort of ridiculous to say.
Why? You think what do you? There's a lot of broads who fucked their way to the top and never had a problem with it.
Yeah, well, there's also a lot of broads that fucked their way to the top, had a problem with it, but had to do it.
Okay.
Or they wouldn't have gotten there.
Okay. And why is that?
I don't know.
Because guys run the fucking world.
Well, yeah,
and it's always going to be that way. As Chris Rock said, we brought up how black comics get away with misogynist material. Chris Rock said, as long as we can knock you fucking broads out. That was his big punchline. Again, if I said it, I would have been driven out of show business. But all right, thanks for the call, man.
Thank you. I like you.
All right, thanks. 3 minutes? Thank Christ. I'm going to go down and smack Roy Moore myself. I don't want to get it this deep into the woods. I'm going to start talking about the Constitution. My question at the beginning of the whole thing was should he stay in the friggin' because I hate the GOP establishment. I hate the Mitch McConnells of the world. And I hope he stays in just for that reason. But no doubt, fucking creepy dude. You know what I mean? You heard that lady telling the story. The fifth accuser. She's not making that up. Let's go to Matt in Indiana. Matt, what's going on? Last call of the evening, I believe. What's happening?
Dick, this guy, John from New York, he's fucking crackhead whack. I don't know where he gets his views, man. He's just way out there in left field.
Why? What did he say that bothered you?
Because it just pissed me off, like this guy, that the dude about going for the McConnell seat or whatever, and 40 years ago, yes, that's just a bunch of bullshit, or it would have been brought out way before now, because he's in the public eye. Hey, it's all, that guy's whack. The East Coast people are just believe what they hear in the news. That just pissed me off.
I know, but this is the beauty of this show. You're from Indiana. You have different views than a lot of guys from the Northeast here, and vice versa. And I was saying that it could be both. That this guy was a creepo, and that the timing. I don't see how you can fucking question the timing on this piece by the Washington Post. You know what their politics are. You know what his politics are. You have to do the math.
It's blatantly obvious that this is maybe he did do it, but I highly doubt it. Because why is it all going to come out now?
People are afraid because he was a powerful dude, I guess. I don't know. Thanks for the call, Matt. I only got a minute left here. Appreciate it, brother. And anyhow, I can't wait to go upstairs and soak this ass in a nice warm bath with some antiseptic soap.
No Epsom salt?
I throw regular salt in there, table salt.
My dad's good for everything.
Sometimes I sit right on a bag of rock salt in my garage, bare ass, and it just dries that up. I'd like to be the doctor tomorrow that's going to open that door again that he slammed shut a week ago. I'd be horrified. Wouldn't you? Sure you would. All right, that's it, kids. Thank you so much for all the calls tonight. And, again, check me out this Friday night, Cary Memorial Hall, Lexington, Mass. The following night, the November 18th, at Cabot Theater in Beverly. December 8th and 9th, Helium in Buffalo. And hit me up on Twitter, @Nick DiPaolo. Talk to you guys tomorrow night. Take care of yourselves.